The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Hello and welcome into Week 8 of the Mike Clowney Show. I'm the voice of the Eagles, Adam Cavalier, alongside Carson-Newman head football coach Mike Clowney as Carson-Newman falls on homecoming to the Mars Hill Lions. The final score from Berktar Stadium, 49-23. Mike Clowney, this was one where you played even with the league leaders for 56 minutes. But a 4-minute stretch at the tail end of the second quarter is what ends up being the difference in this one. Mars Hill rattles off 28 points in a crazy finish to the first half. Let's focus on the positives before we hit that 4-minute stretch. Played even with the Lions. In fact, if you go for the 56 minutes, you have a 23-21 lead. What did you see from your team that accounted for themselves so well over that stretch? And just looking for that final little 12th of a game, I suppose, to finish things off.
You know, biggest thing is resilience. You know, guys come out, they're ready to play. You know, they in a game to where you could talk about on paper, you know, that they're kind of at the bottom. We're kind of at the bottom, they're kind of at the top. You know, we ain't shy away. And, you know, guys come out and, you know, I thought the coaches did a good job of getting them prepared, game plan, had them encouraged and ready to play. And I thought they did a good job of encouraging one another. You know, we challenged them, you know, basically not to believe in themselves, you know, to believe in the process that we talk about, you know, over and over and over again, that eventually, you know, they're going to get to where they want to be. And so you can kind of see that, you know, at the beginning of the football game.
I think it speaks to, you know, this team, we're talking as we're setting up, this team has not quit. This team still has a fire in its belly and wants to perform. Is the execution always there? No, but the effort has been there throughout this thing.
Yeah, that's why I told you we don't know the Q word. It's just like, I mean, I know for me personally, it's just, you know, it's never been, never has been, and never will be an option. You know, we always talk about Coach Sparks. You know, if you're breathing, you're fighting. Yeah. And right now, that's where we are. You know, we're going to continue to fight. We're going to continue to find our ways to get better. We're going to find a way to persevere through this.
Persevere through a lot. You're down 4 starters on the offensive line now because of injuries. And still, through that, Jaden Picardi, significant run up front in the second half, really probably matched his season output in terms of snaps in the second half alone. Will Miller, significant snaps in the second half. And yet you were moving the football still against a Mars Hill defense that came in number 1 in the league in rush defense. What's that say about the character of guys like that to be able to have that next man up mentality? You
know, I think it's, you know, you talk about young guys, and that's what we played across the board. You know, fortunately, they don't see themselves that way. You know, we talked about, you know, them, regardless of the situation, at some point, you know, we knew in this coming into this with the depth that we had, you know, at some point you're going to have an opportunity to play. And we don't know when that opportunity is going to be, but, you know, it's your responsibility to be prepared. And I thought Coach Guillermo has done a good job of pushing them and challenging them. I know early on in the process, you know, they did. It probably wasn't a whole lot of fun. When you come in here and you got a guy screaming at you because he knows that at some point in this season, like, you've got to grow and you got to grow fast in order to, you know, play a game that moves a lot faster and a lot more physical than the one that it just came from. But just to watch those guys that go in and give us still a chance, it speaks to the process.
It's kind of interesting, too, especially with the offensive line. You know, Veer blocking schemes for years, which is just drive off the ball, drive off the ball, drive off the ball. And you're still getting a little bit of that. Granted, some personnel things have made things interesting there as well. But you're still getting that drive off the ball as you make this change to more of a zone blocking scheme. And it's interesting and beneficial.
Yeah, it's the schemes are different. The veer, a lot of it's release, and we're climbing up to the second level zone. There's a lot more double team to where we can try to get two guys on one, and then maybe come off and still play the one-on-one blocks. But the thing that happens is the fundamental part is still the same. You still have to get in a good low stance. You still got to explode off your hips. You still got to move your feet. You still got to finish blocks. And so, like, that intensity, that effort, regardless of what you do scheme-wise, is the same.
Carson-Newman falls on homecoming to the Mars Hill Lions. We'll break down the first half when we come back after this on the Mike Clowney Show. Back on the Mike Clowney Show as Carson-Newman drops its homecoming game to the Mars Hill Lions. The final score to the league leaders, 49-23. I'm Adam Cavalier alongside Carson-Newman head football coach Mike Clowney. Mike, we alluded to it in segment one, 56 really good minutes of football against a team that is in position to win a South Atlantic Conference championship. But that 4-minute stretch at the end of the second quarter, what ends up being the difference in this game, and really the game turned on its head in the blink of an eye. 17-7, Carson-Newman has the lead. Mars Hill has a drive to get with it in was going to be a field goal, but the Lions missed the extra point. But then had a kickoff return, set you up with great field position, miss a field goal. Mars Hill 73 yards on the next play for a touchdown. Get the football back, pick six, onside kick. 43-second scoring drive in quite literally 3 minutes and 37 seconds. You turn from a 10-point lead into an 18-point deficit. You said it in the postgame show, 3 plays is what it really boils down to. Does that make it more frustrating or less frustrating that you can pinpoint, hey, it's these 3, but it's the margin's just here?
Yes, and so I don't know more or less, but frustrating for sure. Just because we've really come out and have a chance to control the football game. We make a decision to kick the field goal. And that's kind of where we're at. We probably should me second guess myself, kind of go and try to see if you can score a touchdown there. But the field goal would put us up by a touchdown, so we felt like we had a touchdown lead, and we missed the field goal. And that, it's sometimes, that's not deflating, but, it's a lot better when you score. And then, like you say, give up the long play right after that. And then, that's just like for a young football team, it's just like to get ourselves back underneath us. I thought the guys overall, from an emotional standpoint, handled it well. But we talk about complimenting one another. And we talked about that a little bit before. So we make a mistake in the kicking game. Let's go get their back defensively. Well, then, we make a mistake defensively, cut a guy loose. But, let's go move the football and do what we need to do offensively to get something back on the board to keep us encouraged. But then we go 1, 2, 3, kicking, defense, offense, all create, this thing together that kind of put our back against the wall. And then, we got to figure out how to rally the troops again because, after that point, it is a little bit deflating. And then, like you said, I get greedy we get the ball on the 40 because they kicked it out of bounds and up close. And then, we've returned the ball pretty good in the game. So, you feel like with a little bit of time on the clock, if we can, get a return and get the ball with a short field and score going in before half, that'd be beneficial for us. And we do the opposite. I make a greedy call, and they kick an onside kick and get it, and then they go score another touchdown. So that's a 14-point swing that we ain't planning on having right there.
I think the nature of football, coupled with your youth, magnified in that series. Unlike baseball, you make a mistake, you got a doubleheader that you can settle yourself back down. Basketball, playing twice, 3 times a week, softball, doubleheader. And that within that construct of, playing once a week, but also with a young team trying to find that, hey, something bad happened, we can flip the script on that, is magnified in a situation like that. Is that fair?
That's fair, especially with a young football team. I think, once these guys are in a little bit more mature situation, I think they respond to that situation better. You get a guy to step up, and that's what like they had 3 guys make plays. Now all of a sudden, we have somebody that comes back and we're not going to accept that. Like we're going to match that, and then we're going to raise you 1. It's the mentality that we've got to work to develop.
Even with that little swoon over the course of 3.5 minutes, you found your footing after halftime. How proud were you of your team for finding that fortitude to come back out and fight?
That's the thing we talked to them at halftime. A couple different things. It's complimenting one another, and I thought we did that, the beginning of the game. Defensively we got stopped, we got a return, we got the ball with good field position to score. Same thing again. So we were complimenting one another, and things were going really well. And then all of a sudden we get that little spot to where we don't compliment each other and things go, kind of off awry. But, coming in and talking to them at halftime, first about, making sure that we work to compliment one another, offense, defense, and kicking. And then second, just pointing at the scoreboard and literally helping them understand, guys, there's 3 plays that we blew. There's 3 plays out there that we blew. It's not that we haven't played well. It's not that we've laid down, not that we've killed each other. It's literally 3 plays. If we can go out and make these 3 plays, and put ourselves back in position to win the football game.
Again, we talk about your predecessors, but the echoing statement, not just for Ken Sparks, but also Mike Turner. 1 play, and that is absolutely true on Saturday against the Lions. 1 play can get you beat. Carson-Newman down at the halftime break to the Mars Hill Lions, 35-17, and we take a look at those first half highlights. 15 to go for the Eagles. Brown out of the gun, settles to throws middle of the field. That is hauled in and complete at the 50-yard line over the left hashes by J.J. Lewis. Daniels there to make the stop, and Carson-Newman tears bunch formation and an ace set. And Urzua will play fake. Roll right, look to throw, back shoulder, Snelson along the left side of the field. Snelson hauls it in at the goal line. Touchdown, Lions. Alonzo Houston had to drop back late in coverage, but Urzua drops his 20th touchdown pass into Snelson's breadbasket. A 20-yard hookup, and the Lions take the lead 6-0.
Really good play call.
Strides forward, strikes it with his right leg, and it's a short kick that'll come down to Davis at the 30. Davis, start and stop move, bounces it out to the right. Davis trying to pick up a block and does. He's across the 40 to the right sideline. Shifty move to midfield, and he's into Mars Hill territory. Cut down at the 48-yard line by Fitzpatrick and McAdoo after a 22 personal foul face mask on the Lions. Brown takes the snap, gives right side for Pearson. Pearson is into the end zone. He had his helmet yanked off, but it doesn't matter. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. Jalon Pearson, his first career rushing touchdown. Punctuated on the 3-yard run by a face mask. And the Eagles within a point pending the PAT. And him Coulter, the tight end to the left. Snap back. Brown pulls it. Zone read keeper, left side. Brown into the second level. He's across midfield, cut down to the left side boundary in Mars Hill territory at the 49. Excellent job by LaMarcus Brown on the zone read. Gets 11 and moves the sticks. Not just to the line, Coulter. Play clock at 2. Brown takes, pitches right side Davis. Davis escapes one man in the backfield and now kicks it to the left. Davis with blockers across the 20. Has a seam past the 15. Stays on his feet inside the 5. See you later. That's 6. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. E.J. Davis, a slippery, slithery run on a moist surface. Finds the end zone from 27 yards out. And the Eagles strike the bulge. 13-7, the lead with 12:43 to play in the second. That's the second. Eagles would love to have that happen again. Urzua play fake. Bearing down on him, Trezell Juradini-Weish. He has him in his sights, and he's dropped him to the surface. Juradini-Weish makes the quarterback disappear back at the 19. A loss of 7. And the Eagles force a 3 and out with the wind in his face.
from the left hash. Irwin gets it off, and Irwin strokes it dead center through the middle of the uprights. Eagles add to it. It's a 17-7 lead for Carson-Newman with 7:19 to go in the second quarter. We return.
Got that one right.
1st and 5 for the Lions. Handoff straight ahead, Morrison, and he is cut down by Cam Ellis between the hashes around left tackle. Ellis stops him down at the Mars Hill, moving quickly. Handoff straight ahead to Morrison. Morrison burrows under the pile, fighting for the goal line, and he's there. Touchdown, Lions. Jure Morrison into the end zone for the 7th time this season, and the Lions. Jones strides forward, strikes it with his right leg. This is a line drive boot that'll bounce up to Sullins at the 20. Sullins straight ahead to the 30 and 40. Sullins with a blocker pass midfield. Sullins a shifty move past the 40. He's inside the 30 along the left side numbers before he's finally grabbed from behind by McAdoo down at the 25-yard line. And we laugh because it doesn't matter what opposing teams do. Looking to make it back-to-back scoring drives. Urzua out of the gun on 1st and 10, has time, airs the long ball. Snelson in stride, caught it along the right hashes, and Snelson going to win a foot race to the end zone. Touchdown, Lions. Sudden change for Mars Hill. Urzua, the long ball to Ty Snelson on a post over the right side hashes. 73 yards, and Snelson houses it to give the Lions the lead. 19-17 with 3:10 to play in the second quarter. Left hash at his own 34. Hogue to his right. Brown takes the snap, settles, throws, right side, high, picked off. An interception by the Lions. Rankin down the left sideline. Rankin will strike for a pick six. Touchdown, Lions. A 34-yard pick six for Tristan Rankin, the nation's leader in pass breakups.
All right, those are the first half highlights. Eagles trailed at the halftime break to the Mars Hill Lions, 35-17. Mike, after that 4-minute stretch where the Lions scored 28 points, what was your message in the halftime locker room that kind of settled things down and played even for the remainder of the game?
Yeah, what we talked about earlier, that's exactly, what we talked about. I think, but the biggest thing, for us to kind of eliminate that from happening is just to make sure that, like you talking about Coach Sparks, Coach Turner earlier, just to make sure that we continue to always keep our foot on the gas. I think, we get a lead and it's hard to say, like, for this group, like, that we get comfortable. But, like, it's something that, like, mentally it's easy to do. It's like, okay, like, we're kind of semi out of the woods and you relax for a split second against a good football team, and then you find yourself in trouble. And so that's where we've got to learn to, stay focused, keep our foot on the gas, be persistent throughout the entire football game so that we do minimize that.
In young football teams, the frequent talking point is how they handle adversity, but probably the underrated and equally important talking point is how they handle success. Yeah. And that's something that, unfortunately, haven't had as many repetitions handling this year. Yeah. But what flashes did you see from your team that showed they understand how to handle success?
I think moving the football back down the field early in the game was the testament to the running backs. Man, our running backs ran hard, but offensive line did a good job of kind of getting them on the second level. And so, like, Troy and Jalon, both had really good hard-nosed runs. We talked about the offensive line. And we threw and caught the ball better. We had a couple, things there to where we played throw and catch a little bit better to keep the defense from kind of stacking the box as much as they have in some games. So LaMarcus at quarterback is still growing and developing, and you're starting to see, him mature a little bit more in what we're doing. So, overall there are a lot of good things out there. Still, some of the younger guys that we played in the secondary, we talked about them, and just – we give up a play to the tight end because we get misaligned. But, for the most part, against a really talented receiver crew, they did a pretty good job. And it's just, for them, it's more about competing. We're starting to get in the right place. And so now we've got to do a better job of competing and making plays. It was interesting, like I said earlier, watching Coach Slade, like, just go attack the ball, to where now, we're starting to, grow beyond in this process, just teaching them where to stand and how to drop, but to start trying to make plays and make breaks on the ball. We still have to do a better job of bringing our feet on tackles, and finishing guys on tackles.
Well, it's all about blocking and tackling at the end of the day.
It's a simple game if you just master the fundamentals. That's what I heard. I think it's the ladies basketball coach from Duke. She talked about mastering the fundamentals, so at that point you can generate creativity. And so that's where we, want our guys to be able to eventually grow in this process to where, they can be a little bit more themselves and play with a little bit more creativity. But in order to do that, we have to master the fundamentals, or you wind up suffering from that part of it over and over and over again.
Carson-Newman falls to Mars Hill on a homecoming. We'll break down the second half after these messages. This is the Mike Clowney Show. Back on the Mike Clowney Show as Carson-Newman falls in Week 8 to the Mars Hill Lions on homecoming. I'm the voice of the Eagles, Adam Cavalier, alongside Carson-Newman head football coach Mike Clowney. Mike, let's highlight some of the individual efforts from this one. And you touched on it earlier with the running back play. Troy Dendy, again, he's been doing it. But Jalon Pearson had a high-quality day, career highs for carries, rushing yards, and he gets into the end zone for the first time. And E.J. Davis, probably one of the runs of the season for Carson-Newman on a broken play where he was outnumbered 5-1 on one side, and it was like a kickoff return. Kicks it out to the left, finds the seam, and gets into the end zone. What can you say about your trio of running backs and the job they did behind an offensive line that was missing some folks to move the ball consistently against the Lions?
Really excited about, those guys having the opportunity to make those plays. Just like EJ, he's persistently done it, on kick return. And so, it's amazing, like the special teams is what's allowed him to be able to play more offense. And we talked about that process, finding a way to get on the field and then finding a way to do what you really want to do. And he's a guy that's a testament to that. And so he's really, worked to kind of put himself in position to be a quality back for us. And then Jalon, has kind of been, hurt on and off. We felt like, he's a pretty good talent for us. He's a hard-nosed kid and works his tail off. And, to finally, be able to play that amount of snaps in the game, I think is good for Jalon.
Cam Ellis, 8 tackles, first career pick in the orange and blue jersey at safety. And probably one of the better games. Got his first career start in place of an injured Brian Payne, and had some good moments on the back end of the secondary. What'd you see out of him?
The last 3 weeks, Cam has really started to kind of push himself and really started to kind of buy into, what we're asking him to do. He come here, was a really good player, at his previous school. But, we do things differently and just kind of adjusting and learning how to do things the way that we do them, But he's been really fun to watch practice the last 2 weeks. And now he's starting to be able to see some of those things that he's done at practice. It's 2 weeks ago we had a Tuesday. We were like, hey, man, where'd Cam Ellis come from? He really, sparked that day. And then now for him to be able to see, like, man, if I come in and I'll work on this stuff and give effort and play the way I'm coached to play, then, all of a sudden these things will kind of start showing back up in the games where you want them to.
Alonzo Houston has been as steady as she goes defensively. It feels like you can just put down that he's going to ratchet up double-digit tackles. Again, record-wise, tough to get All-American honors this year, but positioning himself well as a leader for the future for your team.
He's a rock, and that's what you want on your football team. You want more guys more guys that that you can just count on to be there, be responsible, do their job, and you not have to worry about him. That's one thing I say with Alonzo. You don't really have to worry about, if he's going to be there on Saturday, if he's going to be there really Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And so, he's a rock, and it's fun to coach those guys.
Lamarcus Brown, again, had some moments, some passes out to the flat that got jumped where it felt like he hesitated a little bit, but in the zone read game, definitely read it well at points. Again, freshman, some ups, some downs. What did you see out of his maturation and development under center?
It's one of those things we talked about offensive line. The fundamentals at that position are pretty much still the same, and there's a lot of things there that we've got to continue to help him and work on. But the biggest difference is, this game on Saturday from the game on Friday is it moves a lot faster. The windows are a lot tighter. The position of the ball, has to be, a lot better. And so, I think there's points and times where he's starting to adjust to the speed of the game, but there's still some things there that, habit-wise we've got to kind of develop, coming around, make sure we get the ball out of our hands just a split second faster and in a little bit tighter space, and I think once he'll be able to come in, he'll be able to see that on video. We've got to do a better job, being competitive at practice to force him to have to make those plays, because all of that stuff kind of matches up. Once we get competitive on the back end here, he'll realize that, I can't make that throw on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I definitely probably can't make it on Saturday either. But, there are points and times right now that we probably get away with that during the week, and all of a sudden on Saturday, we're playing older guys, it's a little bit more experience, and they're going to make plays on that.
Carson-Newman falls by a final score of 49-23 to the Mars Hill Lions, and we take a look at the second half highlights.
3rd and goal from the 1. Handoff Roberts right side. Roberts cuts around right tackle, and Roberts finds pay dirt for the second time this season. Touchdown Lions. 4 wide set, 2 each direction. Play fake, throws the slant high and hard to Romaine Kelly. He stays on his feet, has first down yardage in the boundary left side, and drags 2 defenders inside the 40 down to the 38. Honey cut it in 10 with 6 seconds left from the left hash at the Mars Hill 29. Brown, play fake, back to pass, rolls right, throws right, and that is bobbled. It is caught, and it is into the end zone. Touchdown, Carson-Newman. On the final play of the game, J.J. Lewis catches a batted ball and takes it into the end zone to finish the game on a positive note. Final score, Mars Hill 49 and Carson-Newman 23. Eagles, reason to celebrate.
Those are the second half highlights from Carson-Newman's homecoming game against the Mars Hill Lions. Time for our Eagle Spotlight when we get back after these messages. This is the Mike Clowney Show. All right, back on the Mike Clowney Show. Time now for our Eagle Spotlight. And this week, Richard Martin shines it on Jesse West.
If you drive around downtown Jefferson City, you'll see signs for Carson-Newman University with the school's slogan, a Christian university. Carson-Newman's main message is to promote and advance the Christian faith while providing higher education. For offensive lineman Jesse West, his faith has been put to the test many times while at Carson-Newman University, but he has kept forward through all sorts of hardships. A graduate of Palmetto High School in Florida, Jesse West had never even heard of Carson-Newman University. That was until a teammate came up to Carson-Newman and left his own impact with the Eagles.
Yeah, at the time, there was one teammate that we had, Brian Bembry, defensive lineman up here, and he had sort of learned about the university through an alumni, Ken Burton, who was a kicker for the university when they won the national championship back in the 80s. And so I didn't know much about it. I was a bit apprehensive about coming here in the first place. But because Brian had been such a pioneer coming up here, it seemed like he loved it and he excelled here athletically.
After playing in 2 games in 2019 and the COVID-shortened 2021 spring season, Jesse West finally was able to earn a starting role on the offensive line entering the 2021 football season.
Junior year, I had the opportunity to play in that sort of spring COVID season we had, and a couple of days before the game had a bad ankle injury, so I was unable to play. And then, unfortunately, the season got canceled. But this year, I did have an opportunity, and it was, it felt like years of hard work had come into fruition. The coaches and my players, fellow teammates, put me in a position for me to excel and to do well.
Carson-Newman Eagles coaching staff made a change before the fall 2021 season, bringing in Jay Guillermo to coach the offensive line. For Jesse, he says that Coach G has been a great tutor and mentor to him every day, while Coach Guillermo loves the passion and drive from Jesse West that he puts forth in every single practice and play.
And he's been through the process. He's got here as a freshman and just worked, and he's been such a pleasure to coach because he's a guy that wants to be coached, as in, he hangs on every word whenever we're in the meeting rooms, really takes pride in his techniques and his assignments and wants to come in for extra work. And is just a guy that is a leader on and off the field, does the right things. Everything you can ask in an offensive lineman and what an offensive lineman should be.
This year's been a tough year for the Carson-Newman offensive line, with injuries abounding and having several players having to move around to different positions along the line. Despite all of this, the offensive line room has been super close, thanks in part to Jesse West.
Jesse's one big part of that because he's our senior, and he's a guy that kind of leads that group. Once again pushes other people to be better, but also he does a really good job at putting his arm around guys and making sure that he knows that everybody loves them and keeps everybody together, and does a really good job with that.
There can be so much said about the offensive line this year. The thing that amazes me is just the variations and differences between each of the players, whether that be they were transfers, whether that be they're coming from another position group, they're playing out of position, and then also the grade disparages. And one of the things that encourages me, just seeing those differences, is seeing those young guys out there. Just to name a few, guys like Sawyer White, guys like Tyler Brooks, guys like Drew Bronson, playing completely out of position, but they show up every day with an attitude and an effort to go and give our team a great look. And I think out of everything on the offensive line, it's those young guys that encourage me.
Jesse West is the only senior on the offensive line for Carson-Newman, and while his career is winding to an end, Jesse says that he is proud of what he's learned at Carson-Newman on and off the field.
It's been good, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I believe this program is special. This is a special university, and God's doing something really special here.
Earlier this year, 11 Carson-Newman football players were baptized inside of Mossy Creek. For West, he says that was one of the most proud moments of his entire Carson-Newman athletic playing career. For the Mike Clowney Show, I'm Richard Martin.
Thank you very much, Richard Martin, Mike Clowney, Jesse West. I don't know if there is a better kid, double major, religion and communications, an academic All-America candidate on the offensive line. What a person Jesse West is, and getting some starts here, again, depending on how you want to typify him, COVID junior, true senior year.
Yeah, man, Jesse, I can't say enough about Jesse. The offensive line are always the guys I struggle just kind of figuring out who they are. Yeah, for whatever reason. And, I knew Jesse and knew his name, but we never really sat down and had a conversation. And just from the very first conversation you had with Jesse, I'm like, this kid's different. And so found out that he's a religion major. And so we were sitting and talking, and then the next day I was like, hey, Jesse, pray for us. And he was like, because he never says anything. Mm-hmm. But just then the day before that, they were like, when we were talking, some of the guys were like, Coach, have you heard him preach? Have you heard him talk? I was like, I haven't. And so that's why I asked him to pray. And then Jesse prayed, and then everybody on the team was like, it's kind of like you watch guys like raise up and look. And so, he's just a really talented guy. And he has the whereabout, the measuring in religion and communication. If we're going to do that, if we're going to, understand Scripture and the Bible, then we need to figure out how to communicate it and get it into the people that we're talking to. And it just speaks a ton to his heart and who he is and, what he's going to be able to do, out there in this world.
Hey, Kurt Duncan, when he was here, was evident he was going to be a great member of the pastorate at some point, presuming that, that calling was still there in life. And presumably that is going to be true too for Jesse Weston. It's kind of fun to see it happening in real time.
It is. I mean, that's just like, man, you love to have a ton of Jesse. Even in here, you know, it's just like Coach Long come to me one day, he's like, hey, man, like, what about Jesse? It's like, what? He's like, man, Jesse West getting after it down here. And so it's, you know, it's he understands that you take that into everything that you do. And that's what everyone wants in their pulpit when they come here to preach your talk.
Turn your attention now to your senior day and the regular season home finale against the Limestone Saints. Again, we've kind of touched on it several times throughout the season. Probably not fair to focus on the opponent still on Carson-Newman at this point.
That's exactly where we are. You know, and so we'll come back and watch this film, and we'll be encouraged by the things that we do well and coach through those, and then we'll talk about like what we need to do to fix that 4 minutes in there that was, you know, that really hampered us. And so, you know, what we like to see is just continued growth and development, you know, in this game next week.
All right, Mike Clowney, thanks for the time. We'll talk next Saturday against the Saints.
See you next Saturday.
That's Carson-Newman head football coach Mike Clowney. I'm the voice of the Eagles, Adam Cavalier. This has been the Mike Clowney Show. Thanks for watching.